Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to today's weekly meeting. And our topic today is going to be that we will discuss pearls of wisdom of the fasting in Ramadan that are coming from Risale Nur collection and organized by the Lighthouse for Humanity. And today we will discuss that what are the wisdoms behind the obligatory fasting of Ramadan. And our speakers today is Dr. Colin Turner from Durham, UK, and then Baykar Yurdakul, Bloomfield, USA. I'll try to be moderator, inshallah, and then we'll continue. And how am I going to proceed this? Basically, that I will read the first point first, and then I will turn the floor to our speakers. Inshallah, we'll continue and get their insights. Right after that, I'll open the floor to the audience that if there's any questions or answers. And I'll start, inshallah, 29th letter, second station. On the month of Ramadan, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. It was the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was bestowed from on high as a guidance unto man, and a self-evident proof of that guidance, and as the standard to discern true from false. This is Surah Al-Baqarah, and this translation is coming from Dr. Colin Turner, and we'll follow this translation, inshallah, today. So I'll continue reading the first point, and then I'll turn the floor to our speakers, inshallah. The first point, the fast of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and one of the faith's greatest signs and distinguishing features. There are numerous wise purposes in the Ramadan fast. These wisdoms pertain both to God's lordliness and to man's personal and social life. They are also linked to the training of the lower self, known as tazkiyah, and to the gratitude felt for all of the bounties given by God. One of the many wise purposes of the fasting in Ramadan regarding the lordship of God is as follows. God Almighty created the face of the earth in the form of a banquet table covered with the bounties, each of them coming min haythu la yahtasib. In arranging this banquet, God expresses the perfection of his lordship as well as his mercy and compassion. Since we are enmeshed in a world of cause and effect and veiled by the forgetfulness, the reality of this situation is often lost on us. During the month of Ramadan, however, the people of the belief suddenly take on stance and the manner of the well-organized army. As sunset approaches, they act as though they have been invited to the pre-eternal monarch's feast, waiting patiently and worshipfully for the command, step forward and help yourself. The mercy of their Lord, is compassionate and universal, and they respond to it with the worship that is orderly, elevated, and comprehensive. Do you think that those who don't worship in this way and who are unwilling to participate in such a feast deserve to be called human? I'll stop here, inshallah. This was the first point, and then I'll turn the floor to our speakers and get their insight, inshallah. I'll start from Dr. Baykar Yurdakul, inshallah. Brother, this is your floor, inshallah. Then we can understand what the first point is telling us. Thank you.
Thank you, Hikmet abi. Esselamu Aleyküm. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Vessalatu vesselamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Şehru Ramadan ellezî unzile fihil Kur'an huden linnâsi ve beyinâtin minel huda vel furqan. Allahümme barik lena fi Recebe ve Şaban ve bellighna Ramadan. It has been more than 1.5 months since we started doing this dua. Prophet ﷺ in the beginning of Rajab, started doing this dua. So we are almost there, just maybe 10 days before Ramadan. It's incredible, how fast it's unbelievable to me, how fast the whole year went through, and we are again at the time of Ramadan. It's a very blessing time of the year. Inshallah, before starting, I want to ask all Abis brothers to keep us, by name in their prayers day and night, inshallah, in these holidays and nights. This is a very comprehensive risala. It includes almost all parts of the collection to me. So I just want to raise a question maybe before starting. We didn't, we don't have it in the slides. Just before starting the chapter, Ustad mentions the sha'air twice. So let me quote it here. Since at the end of the first section, brief mention was made on the marks of Islam, sha'air, the second section discusses Ramadan, the noble, the most brilliant and splendid of the marks of the sha'air. It consists of 9 points, which explain 9 of the numerous instances of wisdom in the month of Ramadan. And also, when in the first paragraph, we Ustad points out the same term. The first fast of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and one of the faith's greatest signs or distinguishing features. Again, one of the greatest of the sha'air. So I want to ask Abiz, what is the significance of sha'air before starting that? Because it's obvious that Ramadan is very significant, even in a majority non-Muslim country, when you talk about Islam, or just have words about anything about Muslims, people just say, oh, I know they have Ramadan, they know it by name. And when you talk about what do you know about Ramadan, when they heard that they hear that we don't eat from dawn to dusk, they understand that, oh, this is something really serious and takes a lot of devotion. When they hear that, oh, you don't even drink, it's a dry fast, oh, it is a really effective, let's say, an effective symbolization or representation of Islam in their worlds, as far as I get. So Ramadan is one of the most significant of the sha'air. But what is the importance of sha'air in that sense? When Muslims, for example, settle down in a place, the first they do is settling down, establishing this sha'air. So and even when secular powers, I would say, takes over, they target this sha'air first, and it should be something that's looking to do, pointing out or affecting the public rights in a way, so that Ustad, underlines this sha'air many times just before beginning the chapter, in the very beginning of the chapter. So I want to ask about that term specifically before starting, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Rabbi Karabi. And that's a good question. And really, that it is important. And when we represent Islam, I think that there are a number of ways to represent and talk about Islam. Sometimes we talk, sometimes we wear, sometimes all these representation is important for the showing that the sha'air of Islam. And Ramadan is one of the one, and the fasting. Well, I will just turn this question to, or refer this question to Dr. Colin Turner, Colin Abi. Do you, or would you like to just comment on that, please?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Bismillah. First of all, it's nice to hear Brother Baikar's voice.
Same here, Colonel.
We haven't heard him for quite a while. Uh, I wasn't expecting that question, so it's caught me a bit on the hop, as they say. But sha'air, every community has them. Even secular communities have their own sha'air. They have their own fiqh. They have their own forms of worship. Ours, we believe, is authentic and is God aligned, is directed towards Allah. But everyone, every human being, human beings are cultural animals, not animals, but cultural creatures. And culture means what we do. And what we do has to have an underlying dynamic. It has to have an underlying rationality. It has to be aligned with the divine purpose. We believe this as Muslims. And that means that our landmarks, our emblems, our symbols are very, very distinctive. So when we think of the pillars of Islam, for example, the so-called pillars of Islam, these are all the sha'air. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's the five that everyone knows better than the others. Um, and when you're going on a journey into a foreign city where you haven't been, you really can't orient yourself unless there are street names, street signs, tableau, with directions written on. Otherwise, you don't really know where you are. And so the sha'air, along with lots of other things in our practice, gives us that kind of orientation. It orients us in the correct way. So there's the Shahada, of course, which is the very, very bedrock, the very foundation of our practice. And the Shahada is not something that you say just once. I remember someone asked me once, when did you take your Shahada? And I said, is it something that you only do once? Because we are always witnessing the creation. We are always witnessing Allah's names. Aren't we supposed to take that Shahada all the time? Maybe not vocally, but conceptually. And then, of course, there is namaz, there is prayer, and 5 times a day we get a reminder. We get woken up, metaphorically speaking, from whatever we're doing. Um, and in fasting, if you think of the prayers as ayats, like from ayats from the Quran, which we get 5 times a day, they're revealed to us 5 times a day. Ramadan is like a whole surah, which is revealed once a year. So it's got that kind of magnitude in a sense. It's a year where we are woken up completely, and it's one of the sha'air which is quite mysterious in a sense because Allah says fasting is for me alone, and it is the ibadah that Allah loves better than any of the others. Because what fasting does, it reacquaints us with the fact that we are ajiz and faqir in one of the most amazing ways. It's also just for Allah, because you can't fake fasting. It doesn't allow any riyah. It doesn't allow really hypocrisy. Whereas the other sha'air, if they're not done sincerely, you can see people praying, you can see people giving the shahada, you can see people going on Hajj. We can be seen when we do those things, and therefore they can be the source of riyah, the source of hypocrisy. uh, you know, um, but no one can tell whether you're fasting or not. And if you go up to someone and say, I'm fasting, I mean, why would you even say that? Because there's no way you can prove it. I mean, obviously they wouldn't say prove it, but there is no way you can prove it because it's a passive action. It's a withholding. It's a withholding, and that's really important because withholding, we spoke, I think, last week or maybe in another ders, I can't remember, that we can't create anything, we can't do anything. We can only intend, and then Allah creates. Fasting is a kind of, when we make a cup of tea or make dinner, we think we're actually doing something, but we're not. We're making a fi'li dua for Allah to create the sort of stream of apparent causes which come after our intention. But in fasting, we don't do anything. We do nothing. We just withhold food and drink from our systems. And that really is very deeply in alignment with our, true constitution as created beings, because we're not able to act. We think we can, but we know that we're not able to act. We don't have any active agency. And Ramadan actually shows us, as we withdraw our consent to eating, that actually we can't do anything. And in not doing anything, we are showing that we are ajiz and faqir. And we need to be reminded of that. Because, no one likes to think they're weak and impoverished. But we are, creationally, constitutionally, we are ajiz and faqir. And Ramadan, I think, is the one of the it's the one of the sha'air which, more than any other, I think, reminds us of our existential poverty and impotence. That's all I can think of at the moment.
Thank you so much, Colin Harvey. Yeah, that is important. We know that there's some sha'air of Islam, like a adhan, just to call to prayer, is one. Islamic attire is another one. Like all signs and symbols and landmarks, as you were talking, rituals, and those are important part for just talking about the Islamic sha'air. And Said Nursi, sometimes, well, I read it sometimes that there's some different part that works. Like Risale-i Nur is really emphasize the true progress and happiness that is going to achieve through the integration of some kind of religious principles with the current understanding and the observing the Sha'air is an essential part of this path as well. In the Risale-i Nur, it just explains that the Islamic science and symbols. I think I will just turn to Baykar again, if there is anything that he wants to add um, to his questions. Maybe that he's gonna add some different parts about the Shair. Baykar.
Well, yes, Hikmet abi. Inshallah, maybe I can start with quoting the last part of the previous section, since Ustad, pointed out that he mentioned about Sha'air there.
Mhm.
Instances of wisdom or benefits cannot change the marks of Islam, Sha'air, related to worship. The aspect of them related to worship preponderates, and they may not be touched. They may not be changed, even for 1,000 benefits. Similarly, it's not right to claim that the uses of the marks of Islam, Sha'air, are limited to their well-known purposes. It's a false idea. Such purposes are only one out of many. For instance, someone may say the wisdom in and purpose of the call to prayer, azan, is to summon Muslims to prayer, in which case it will be enough just to fire a rifle. However, the foolish person does not know that the summons is only one purpose out of the thousands. Even if the sound of a rifle shot serves the purpose, how, in the name of mankind or in the name of the people of the town, can it substitute the call to prayer, adhan, which is a means of proclaiming worship before divine rububiyyah and heralding divine unity, tawheed, the supreme results of the creation of the universe and of mankind. So, in my recent readings of this chapter, I'm just, uh, kind of a new window is opening into my mind. It's like, I was thinking that this sha'air is related to the public rights, so it's very important. But here, I guess you start, ends it with a heavy statement saying that if you don't understand this, what kind of humanity is this? Uh, this sha'air is even, Islamic sha'air is even related to the rights of the whole creation. It is, related to the rights of whole existence. It's the, even related to the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and, the purpose of the creation. That's why I guess Ustad stresses that much on that, important concept before starting the Ramadan. Ramadan is the most significant one of them. That's what I, initially think over. Maybe Abis can help me with that further. And if you go through this paragraph again, it's kind of pointing out to the same thing. God Almighty created the face of the earth in the form of a banquet table covered with bounties, each of them coming min haysu la yahtasib. In arranging this banquet, Allah expresses the perfection of His Lordship as well as His mercy and compassion. In arranging this banquet, Allah expresses the perfection of His Lordship as well as His mercy and compassion. So again, when we have this pamphlet, this booklet on Ramadan, thanks and frugality, right? So it's published together. If you go to the section, it's just few chapters, few parts, before this, in the 28th letter, 5th section, the part about shukr. You start opens up this in a very beautiful way, how shukr is one of the greatest fruits of the whole existence, whole creation. So, in order to understand it, I strongly, recommend to go over that chapter again before, starting the Ramadan. So he explains that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, created the entire universe, but when He created the life, it gives a kind of a tawheed. It kind of summons the entire existence, creation, around one purpose. So everything serves life in a way. When we look at the purposes of life, we understand that everything is kind of serving the same purpose. Otherwise, it's, everything is flying around. It's like so chaotic, it's so confusing, so overwhelming, the huge entire universe, right? But when we have the life, we see that, the galaxy, the solar system, the atmosphere, everything, is kind of serving this purpose, the life. And among the living beings, of course, the human being is chosen, right? He was given a lot of abilities to understand what's going on around him, and he is also run after the risk, right? The moment we wake up in the morning, we think about what am I gonna have for the breakfast, and then we go out. Where am I, having my lunch, and then what am I bringing back to home for dinner, right? Today, and I'm of course going out for my bread money, and then he's talking about how rich this whole variety of risk, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could sustain us like a simple tree, right? A tree has thousands of offsprings, thousands of babies like fruits, right? So, and it just puts its roots in the mud and gets sustained. That's it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a small piece of flesh in our mouths, which can distinguish all the flavors, all the senses, all the different cuisines and varieties of risk out there. And, all those nice smells and, packagings of those different ni'mah is unbelievable. So Ustad, beautifully summarizes all this in the Shukr Risale, just taking our attention how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, represents and summons this and then serves this, he makes this an assistant for our shukr, which is the end product of the entire creation. Otherwise, we take it very slightly, and we got lost. We just don't think how significant, important it is. Even we say thanks, it's kind of a simple, dry thanks after we give all the appreciation to all the other things. As here Ustaz says, since we are enmeshed in a world of cause and effect and veiled by forgetfulness, the reality of the situation is often lost on us. So we forget the biggest aim of the creation, the entire universe is created to make known the creator, right? So to make us know him, to love him, to give thanks to him. And this is the most important fruit, most important product, but we take it too lightly, and then we forget it. Even we give our thanks to all the other stuff, but maybe a little part to him, and that's not really uh, we don't really mean it most of the time. It's not that heavy in a way in our world. I want to stop here, and maybe Colin Abi can help us to open it up a little bit. But I'm trying to make this connection because this paragraph is going through very fast, and it includes a lot of things. Sha'air and boom, Allah's compassion and lordship, and then our thanks. So maybe Colin Abi can help us to a little bit.
Inshallah.
As
Inshallah.
the
Thank you so
window.
much. Thank you very much, the Baikar Abi, the inshallah, the Colin Abi can say. So that the paragraph that since we are enmeshed in a world of cause and effect and veiled by forgetfulness, the reality of the situation is often lost. So that this is basically that we have a forgetfulness. And if you remember that, I just wanted to mention them before Colin Abi. Yeah, in the Quran, in Surah Al-Rum, and then ayat 50, I'm not going to read everything, but فَانْظُرْ إِلَىٰ آثَارِ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Yeah, I mean, this is just basically that, as you were saying, that we are not really carefully or attentively looking at the around us, which Ramadan is just helping us that how to look and then how to just get rid of the veiling and forgetfulness. Colin Abi, it's your turn. Sorry that I just took over before
No,
you.
it's okay. I wasn't planning to speak more, but something came to mind.
Sure, go ahead.
As Baikar was talking about this perfection of lordship, Kamal Rububiyat, Rahmat, Shafaqat. Allah's names are everywhere. Allah's names are manifest all the time. But we forget this. We are creatures of habit, and we're not habitualized to seeing the names of Allah everywhere. And in certain places, in the secular world, people are actively dissuaded from seeing anything as purposeful and meaningful. So, this rubs off on us sometimes, and we sort of sometimes become sort of like how can you say semi-secular. So Ramadan is this brilliant opportunity to remind us of the divine names, and particularly the Rububiyat, because Allah is Rabb, we are Marbub, but sometimes we forget this. Sometimes we forget the mercy that exists in a piece of dry bread or in a leaf falling from a tree. We see mercy as something big and momentous, but mercy again is ubiquitous, it's everywhere, and so is compassion. We are veiled by forgetfulness, by nisyan, and we often forget this. But what I wanted to focus on and ask opinions of the audience was if you go to the third slide, the humanizing effect of Ramadan. If you can go to the next slide. The very last sentence, it shocked me when I first read it many years ago. Do you think that those who do not worship in this way and who are unwilling to participate in such a feast deserve to be called human? And I've come to the conclusion, no, that they don't. They are bashar, but they are not insan. And there's a difference between bashar and being insan, as far as I understand. And we sometimes we lapse into bashariyat rather than insaniyat as believers. So Ramadan actually reacquaints us with our humanity, because Ramadan is about reminding us that we don't have agency, that we don't have freedom to do exactly what we want, and we don't have sovereignty. Whereas someone who isn't fasting, um, they think that they can do what they want, they can eat when they want, they think that they set the rules, they think that they are autonomous, that they are sovereign individuals and completely free to do what they want. Now, this is a generalization. Of course, some people are aware of their limitations, but generally, if you're talking about people who are not faith aligned, they believe that they have sovereignty and autonomy. And so when people ask, sometimes, we have a neighbor here next door, and when Ramadan starts, she says, "Oh, you poor things, it's Ramadan again." And I'm thinking, no, you're the poor thing. Even though she's a really lovely person, really, really helpful, and maybe even more faithful in her own way than I am in mine. But she feels sorry for us, and that's her compassion as well. But I always think, well, if you really understood, what we're doing, you would want to do it as well, because what it does, it truly humanizes us. It truly reminds us of what we are. It reminds us of our createdness, our contingency, our limitations, our being finite and transient. And you can only be human if you understand those things. And Ramadan gives us the opportunity. It's not a guarantee, mind, but it gives us the opportunity to reconnect with these realities which underpin our existence and the existence of the universe.
Thank you so much, Colin Abi. And then I think that both of our speakers that gave insight. And now I'm going to open up, and if there is any questions and answers. There's nothing on the chat box, but I would love to just, if you are interested in just sharing your insights with us, that I appreciate it. I think Alabi is here. Alabi, do you have any comments, anything that you like to share?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'd like to share something about the meanings of Minhajul Ayatasib. Perhaps as an examples, we can remember the bounty of milk and bounty of honey firstly, because I think as a causes in this bounties, the causes are thinner or can be seen easily. The names of Allah, the manifestations of the names of Allah can be seen in these bounties, milk, honey, and other bounties named or called in the Quran. And by discovering their type of sending, min haysul ayetesib, other bounties also can be discovered directly. Almighty Allah is sending. I think in this point with friends, as we are discussing, some friends indicate that in this point, I think the fasting is looking to the belief, and to know Allah. In all other orders or responsibilities given by Allah, the names of Almighty Allah are seen. I think in this treatise, in this point, especially first one, second one about our duty, our responsibility of thanks, but in this point, as far as I remember from our discussions, our responsibility of belief, the perfection of His Lordship, I think relate to the manifestations of the names of Almighty Allah on the bounties. They are seen on the bounties. Rabbul Alemin, every bounty is sent by Allah directly to our name, to my name, directly. All causes are envelope, container, handkerchief, and tray bear. That's all. Conscious or unconscious. They are equal in not sending the bounties, the causes. Allah Almighty is employing them, but as brother expressed, and it is stated here, because of heedlessness, negligence, as a human being, also believers cannot see this reality, although the bounties are sent min haysul ayatasib. And Ramadan comes as a bounty of Allah. And the order of Allah is also bounty of Allah. And because of forbidden from imsak to iftar, the believer perceives that the real owner of the bounties are Almighty Allah. I think I'd like to share these things.
Thank you so much, Ali Abi. Yeah, and I see that there's nothing on Q&A chat box, and I'll continue the second point if there's not any other comments and insights, inshallah. The second point, one of the many wise purposes behind fasting in Ramadan concerns humankind's and thankfulness for God's bounties, and is as follows. As explained in the first word, a price must be paid for the food that the servants bring on trays from the royal kitchen. How foolish it would be then if we were to give the waiter a tip while ignoring the one who sent them in the first place and dismissing those priceless bounties as worthless. God Almighty has scattered countless bounties across the face of the earth for mankind, and in return, He requires us to pay for them with our gratitude. The apparent causes behind those bounties are nothing more than servants or tray bearers. We are, to an extent, in debt to those servants, and we pay them a price accordingly, showing them a great respect and gratitude that, in fact, they don't merit. The true bestower of bounties is infinitely more deserving of thanks than are those causes, which are simply the means whereby those bounties are delivered. To thank Him, then, is to recognize that those bounties come from Him directly. To thank Him is to appreciate their worth and to acknowledge our own need for them. Fasting in Ramadan is thus the key to true, sincere, comprehensive, and universal gratitude. This is because at the other times of the year, most people who are relatively well off don't realize the value of the bounties they receive, since they don't experience real hunger or true need. Those whose stomachs are full, especially if they are rich, do not understand the bounty that is in a single piece of the dry bread. When the time to break the fast arrives, however, a believer's taste buds testify that dry bread is one of God's most precious and valuable bounties. During Ramadan, everyone, from king to beggar, expresses a kind of gratitude through understanding the true worth of those bounties. I'd like to stop here and turn uh, to our speakers again, and then to get their insights about the second point, inshallah. This is one of the really rich part of the Risale and chapters. And I'd like to hear from, again, that the same order, inshallah. By Karabi, what would you like to share with us about the second point?
Well, again, I want to underline the meaning of the shukr here. We need to give thanks as the price. Of course, if you tip the delivery guy and don't pay the main bill, it doesn't work like that. But this main bill is, kind of a very heavy shukr, in the name of the whole creation. So as we read in the previous part, it's kind of related to the rights of the whole creation, because the whole creation is serving the life, and all the animals and plants are assisting human being in this service. So in our salat, in our worship, when we are thanking, again, we are doing this service, this worship in the name of the whole creation. So when we ignore it, we are ignoring, abusing the rights of all this existence. They're all watching over this, what the human being gonna do when he meets the ni'mah, the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's kind of related to all the creation in that sense, as far as I understand. And Ustad, quickly goes to the key points, which thank you, Jesma, we just highlighted them. 3 things. To thank him then is to recognize that those bounties come from him directly. So, my parents, my boss, my job, my diploma, my fertile farm, my shopkeeper, everything is a means, but directly from him. Of course, they are a means to increase my ingratitude, my gratitude. Thanking them should also drive me to the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm blessed with all those different means of ni'mah, and to thank him is to appreciate their worth and to acknowledge our own need for them. So this simple apple, this simple orange, this simple thing that I buy for a couple of dollars in the market is just, I'm paying for the transportation fee. I'm just tipping the delivery guy. For that apple to come to my table, right? The entire universe is working. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could create it from nothing, from in a very simple way, but he runs the entire universe to my assistance to serve it to me. It should tell me something. This is not some simple consuming material that you can just kick away from your road. That's why from childhood they teach us, you find a dry piece of bread, you put it somewhere high, right? You respect it. So this is something worthless. You cannot valueless. You cannot really value the worth of this product. It's so valuable. It's not something just you paid for, got from the market for $1, $2. There is a certain respect which I cannot define by words, for that ni'mah. The entire universe worked for that. So it's so valuable. And to acknowledge our own need for them. This is really needs the practice. We open the fridge, the products, the goods we bought from the market is fallen over us, and we don't lack anything. And we're gonna inshallah talk throughout this chapter about that meaning. And we don't really feel that need. We don't even acknowledge we are needy, we are in need of those things, because we never lack them. So that's the 3 key Ustad gives here to us to ponder upon, to really be thankful and appreciate and give thanks globally in the name of the whole creation, as he made it, defined it in the previous section, in a comprehensive, right, elevated worship mood. We need to really know them directly from him and appreciate their worth and acknowledge our own need for them, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Baikarabi. I'll just give one example. I don't know, it's a little bit related, but when I was doing my graduate school, and one of the brothers from Saudi Arabia was doing the PhD with me, and we were working on the small sample protein in the small wheat seed. That wheat seed or barley seed is really small. And Suleiman was working on that, the one couple of the proteins in that seed, gliadin, glutenin proteins. And his father and uncle just came and visited him, and they wanted to go to the pizza place. And then Suleiman called me as well that, hey, Hikmet, why don't you just join us? I said, okay, sure, I will come and join you guys. And I went to a pizza place, and we were sitting and we started eating. And his father just asked Suleiman, can you tell us that what you're doing your PhD, your uncle needs to know? And Suleiman started talking about that. Yeah, uncle, you know what? That the wheat and barley seeds, there is a little proteins inside the small seed, and I'm trying to isolate that seed. That's what he said. And then, well, his father said, I cannot believe that we're wasting our money for that this small protein in that small little tiny seeds. You cannot do that to us. So what I wanted to say that protein in that small seeds and wheat or barley seeds cannot be produced or generated or make up in the lab at all. But it was in that, and then so that the whole seedlings is coming out. So something that we are right paying $50 per bushel of the wheat seeds or big bushel, or let's say that the 10 kilograms, and that we cannot even recognize or understand or make up that little tiny proteins, which is priceless. We cannot just pay that. That's what I wanted to share. So how important that everything is in the whole cosmos, and even like little seed and proteins is being made and bounty or given to us by Allah, which we cannot just produce or make up. I talked too much, brother Colin Abi. Inshallah, this is your turn again. So sorry that I interrupted a lot.
It's okay. There's a question.
Yeah, I
Said,
wanted to.
Yeah. Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Go ahead, Said, brother.
Yes. My question is regarding the last colorful sentences. I think the previous point is that also mentioned the causes for his rububiyyah through his merciful and compassions connected with the fasting. Actually, I was going to raise a question at the first point, or fasting relation with his compassion and mercifulness. And here there's actually start explain the causes is highlighting the causes is coming from him. But now it's the question, the point come to my mind. In the moment of the suffering, like we desperate more, in that situation, aren't the causes more stronger and more apparent than the normal cases? For example, let's say if we are about to drown in the ocean, if we don't know how to swim, if someone throws us a rope to hold it, we will probably just directly have more stronger connections to the causes mostly. And another example maybe if like we are starving, like even in Sharia, like we are about to death, even the pork is just we have to eat. It's haram, but we are able to eat the pork in times of striving, hunger, and hard positions. My point is in the situations we are in, this desperate, we are more connected to the causes than in regular time. But in here, with the fasting, this causes actually supposed to make our connection stronger than other normal time. Can someone explain that is on all fasting situations, how causes become weaker and makes our connection stronger with the causes of the source of the causes?
Thank you so much, brother.
Questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, brother Said. Yeah, I think that we were going to continue with the Colin Abi. Maybe Colin Abi, you can address this question if you can, and then also continue just we can listen to your insight.
Yeah, Said always poses the most intricate and interesting questions. Yeah, but it's good because Ramadan is here to show us that actually causes really don't have any effect. That we are ajiz and faqir, and that the creation is ajiz and faqir, that causes are only apparent. And before I get to the other part of Said's question, this is not about eating and drinking. Ramadan appears to be about eating and drinking, but it's not. It's about it's about us being given the opportunity to appreciate and acknowledge and recognize and to thank. And we are not thanking actually for the food and for the drink, but what we are celebrating and acknowledging and appreciating is the divine names. Ramadan is in a sense a feast of the divine names. In fact, our existence is a feast of the divine names. but we become so habituated to them and acculturized to them that we don't realize them as divine names. And so it's all about appreciation. As for the actual question that Said posed, are we in times of suffering or in times, for example, we're about to drown in the ocean, are we more connected to causes? I think this is an attitude issue. It obviously, if you think of Yunus alayhi salam, then at the beginning, yes, but then he realized that he was, in kuntu min az-zalimin, I was doing zul to myself by actually trusting in the causes. And yet, if you're drowning, you will really, really try to swim and try to go with the current, because when we make dua through causes. The causes don't answer us, but they are the means whereby we attempt to connect with the names of Allah. But first of all, we have to know that it's not the causes that are sustaining us or are helping us. And Ramadan helps us to understand that through focusing on ajz and faqr. It's not just human beings who are ajiz and faqir. Every created being is ajiz and faqir. But at the same time, the only way we can express ourselves and we can understand Allah is through multiplicity. And therefore, it's not a problem that we become more connected to causes when we are drowning, or as long as we don't become desperate and think that it's the causes that are saving us. Like when you when you have iftar and you have your food and you have your drink, you are enjoying really understanding the names of Allah that are suddenly, bursting on your tongue. All of these different experiences, the rububiyah, the shafaqa, the rahma, the hikmah, all of these things. But you're doing it through things which are created, which his names are reflected on those things. And similarly, when you're at a time of, existential crisis, you're in the middle of the ocean, you will form more of a sustained and concentrated connection because your dua will be stronger. So the fact that you're attempting causes with, more urgency, as long as you don't trust the causes to be able to act, and understand that they are actually just veils for Allah's, creative actions, then that's fine. It doesn't matter that you are involving yourself with causes from a perceptual level, apparently more than usual. I don't know whether that's answered the question or not.
Thank you
So
so
it's
much.
more comprehensive. So other components or faculties also needs to improve same time, not just reduce to the causes issue, but other components or spiritual faculties also should improve as whole. So then maybe make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks a lot for the questions and then answers. I will continue to finish that the second point and the last paragraph I will read, inshallah. And then
There was another question, but the hand's been taken down now.
oh, okay. So then there is a comment on the chat box, inshallah. Then we will move on. So I'll continue. Moreover, since eating is forbidden during the daylight hours, those who have fasted will say, "These bounties do not belong to me. I am not free to eat them, since they belong to another and have been given to us as gifts. I will therefore wait for his command. They will recognize the bounty as a bounty, and they will give thanks accordingly." Fasting is in many respects like a key to gratitude, which is one of humankind's fundamental duties. That was the last paragraph. And before, I just wanted to get the last, because we have 3 minutes, I want to read this comment as well on the chat box. The verse at the beginning of the text focuses on Quran being bestowed as guidance to discern truth from falsehood. So with the conversation thus far, what I'm thinking about is how can we understand the parallel being drawn, being fasting as means of worship, and truth, falsehood being made clear to me via guidance. If anything, what comes to mind is in recognizing my absoluteness, neediness, starting with hunger and thirst, and my reality being made clear to me. I am contingent being, and there's givingness to everything in creation, including my own createdness. And do you? I'd like to ask you, Baykarabi, as well, that the last comments, inshallah, we have 2 minutes, and then we will make dua. Inshallah, we will continue that this risale for the next and the following weeks as well. Baykarabi, the floor is yours.
Well, if you think about all different points that we read through, and all the reflections that we heard, it's kind of summing up everything for us. For example, about the causes, Ustad gives a nice tool again in the Shukr Risale. For example, the causes are a veil, right? A veil can be a block, but it could be like a cinema screen also, which we see the manifestations of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And fasting is the tool, right? It kind of, sometimes we start thinking that this is not the manifestation, the reflection, but it is real, it is from itself. Then the fasting just wakes us up, no, it's not the real source. It is a means to the real source. So unless we have all these causes, it's hard to talk about the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the absolute sense. When I say Allah is Qadir, if there's no causes out there, no other creation, it doesn't make sense to me. But when I see he is, directing from the galaxies to the zarra, to the atoms, everything, oh, now it makes sense when I say, oh, Allah is Al-Qadir, right? So like this, those causes could be a means to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names, and the entire creation is actually serving to this purpose. But we forget it. We are overwhelmed in the kesra, right? The multiplicity, and sometimes causes blinds us. So we in order to go through that veil, or make it a screen for ourselves, we have this sha'air, this worship, and Ramadan, fasting, right? So all of this is kind of serving the same purpose. So mashallah, I benefited a lot from brothers' reflections and questions. It's all kind of all connected and related, and opens up a big window, inshallah, before Ramadan, to get into the gist of the entire month, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Baykarabi. Colin Abi, do you have a last comment and before we finalize?
No, I don't. Thank you.
I thank you so much, and thank you so much for that joining. And I'd like to thank all speakers and an audience as well. And I will turn that floor to Jazmabi to make dua. Inshallah, we will continue next week to discussion. Jazmabi, it's yours. And could you please make dua? Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Hikmet abi. I will make the dua of Sayyid Nursi, rahimahullah. He is making this dua at the end of the days of Sha'ban. He's saying that we congratulate you on the night of Barat and you're approaching Ramadan. We supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the coming night of power, Laylatul Qadr in Ramadan, to be more auspicious than 1,000 months for you and for us. So he is making that dua, oh Allah, make our night of power, the Laylatul Qadr in this Ramadan, inshallah, in the coming Ramadan, better than 1,000 months for us and for the sincere students of the Risale Nur. Ameen. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. O Allah, increase our understanding of the mysteries of the Quran. Ameen. And put us in the service of it. Ameen. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.